And you know why. Coming up, you're also going to hear one of my young students at Institute Montana in Switzerland. You see, when you're stuck on the planet, speaking of 80 years, for another 80 years, you actually think about climate change. This, of course, as a giant hurricane is swirling in the Atlantic Ocean as we speak. But you think about climate change in a much different way rather than, oh, it's a hoax. Thankfully, climate change doesn't exist in the United States anymore, thanks to a presidential executive order. And neither now does FEMA, since you only need FEMA if the idea of natural disasters weren't such a hoax. Meanwhile, in Europe, they haven't seen the executive order, apparently, or their scientists and ski resorts have refused to yield to White House authority. So as we enter into fall, Europe is roasting, quite literally, under a relentless sun that shows no mercy. Wildfires, previously relegated to the continent's warmer fringes, now march toward the very hearts of Madrid, of Athens, even Podgorica, pushing capitals to the brink of evacuation and wrenching people from their homes with little more than minutes to spare. You see, nature isn't holding back. In Scandinavia, touching Norway, Sweden, Finland, a heat wave of brutal ambition stretched over 2 agonizing weeks turned forests into ash and hospitals into pressure cookers. That heat surge, scientists warn, was not just random. It was amplified by human-driven climate change, increasing the odds of such extremes by over 10-fold. Now, you might look to the UK for a break, where, by the way, the best French grapes are now grown in England because it's too hot in France forever. You now go to the UK to grow French grapes. Yes, they have moved and migrated the vineyards northward. Just like the salmon that we used to catch off Alaska is now in Russian waters, they have moved north to cooler waters, creating a territorial war. So it's actually Russian salmon, and we have skirmishes, border skirmishes, because the fish don't care where they're located, actually. But the fishermen do, and they pay a price for it. That's probably not going to be discussed during the summit. That we're going to look at next week. And boy, what a plot of a play that is, completely unmentioned in the mainstream media right now. So back to the UK. You may look to it for a break, perhaps a climate change whisper that a drizzle is going to save the day. Well, no. The UK is careening toward a record fire season this year, already on track to eclipse anything the records have ever seen, with wildfires up a third from 2022's records and sea temperatures off of Yorkshire a steam bath. Meanwhile, the EU's emissions, our collective scar on the planet, climbed almost 4% compared with last year. Now, you're in LA. We've been through recent fires together. We know how real this is, despite a presidential directive saying it's a hoax. We know it wasn't a hoax. We know that FEMA is a useful way to spend taxpayer funds during natural disasters. That's gone now, too. Much work ahead. So if the EU's emissions, the collective scar on the planet, have climbed almost 4% compared with last year. On the political front, Brussels now, this is the heart and soul of the EU. They're not just twiddling their thumbs here or calling it a hoax. Plans are underway, big plans, bribed by ambition to ratchet up high-speed rail, promising to cut CO2 emissions by 93% on routes like Amsterdam to London. That's if you opt for steel wheels over jet fuel. Why not? Why not jump on a train? Takes like 8 minutes to get on the train, as opposed to 2.5 hours in an airport going through their version of TSA, going through this, going through that. You just jump on a train, boom, you're there. High-speed rail, quicker than getting on a plane, and it mitigates putting all of that exhaust in the air. There's also a growing whisper, an urgent murmur, really, about just resilience as opposed to just resilience. No, just resilience, as in justice, just resilience. And it's a European notion that says adaptation to climate collapse shouldn't look like abandonment or band-aids. Instead, they are investing with justice in mind, protecting supply chains, uplifting garment workers in the global south, and building locally led solutions so they don't rebuild the systems that they are carelessly burning and that are exploitative. They actually are admitting that, whether you agree or not. And then up in your Alps, where I was over the summer, they haven't waited for catastrophe to come knocking again. They have now broken ground in the Alps, literally carving a 100-meter channel to drain a melting glacier lake and stop it from swallowing villages whole. That's $400,000. That's all. Or sorry, $400 million. Okay, it's a whole hell of a lot more. But it's preventive heartbreak versus $1 billion of disaster and then insurance companies, another $4 billion for them to pay it off. $400 million of preventive heartbreak paid for now to avoid a far bigger tragedy later because they don't think it's a hoax, especially when people die. They're not kidding. So do we act? Or do we merely watch as Europe burns? Nature refuses to follow the executive order that climate change is a hoax. Fires rage in the Mediterranean. Heat waves are not just hot summers. They're evidence that the planet is tipping and our foot is on the pedal. We're now going to hear from some of my students overseas. This is where I was this summer, doing what you and I do together here. We teach each other. We talk to each other. We have honest conversations. Well, these kids come from all over the world, and they're really young, and they're really smart, and their minds are still wide open. So what I've learned from you, I give to them. This first one is Mason from Hong Kong. 10. Now, if you're watching the video, just Google Cary Harrison YouTube. Again, KPFK is going to have its own dedicated YouTube channel soon. We're going to migrate over there. But if you're watching the video, you're going to see this mini genius thinking extemporaneously and out loud.
Hello, my name is Mason. I'm 10 years old, almost 11. And today I'm going to be talking about climate change and what I think about climate change and what we might be able to do to stop this climate change. So, climate change, actually, it should not be here in the first place if us humans did not burn so many stuff and release a lot of greenhouse gas into the air. It's really just our fault. So if we can just stop this greenhouse gas emission, we can maybe make the world a better place. Like, the weather isn't particularly good these past few years. So I think what we can do is do our own parts and try to minimize this greenhouse gas going into the air. So if you have a car or something, you might want to not use it that much. You could ride a bicycle or you can take the public transport. Because if you're riding your own car, it would emit a lot of greenhouse gas into the air, and you don't want that. Secondly, when you're buying electronics or other things, you can look at its efficiency label. Some places don't have that, some places do. But if it does, then look at the efficiency label and try to buy something that is more efficient. So essentially, it uses less energy, but does the same thing. So you can minimize the energy usage. I think people should really start thinking about this, because if we don't stop it, like, the world is gonna catch on fire or something. The weather is really bad. So we should really like wake up and have our conscience on this problem and try to solve it together. Thank you.
10. 10. Wow. We should run him for president. That's an incredible viewpoint from a 10-year-old. Just so that you understand the outreach of this show, Cary Harrison Files that you're listening to and watching right now, and what you and I do together in our common mission. These next two students, one a 21-year-old Canadian, the other a 20-year-old from Poland, double the age of the 10-year-old. They capture the essence of the BS surrounding solving the climate problem. Because you and I are told it's your fault, it's my fault. But it's way bigger than that, isn't it? Note the clarity of thought. Note the clarity of thought. Here we go.
21.
Yeah.
He's 20. Hello, I'm Jamie from Calgary, Canada.
I'm Norman from Poland.
And today we will be discussing climate change. So Norman,
Yep.
I feel like we have a little bit of a disagreement on the solutions of climate change. Is that right?
That is correct. Well, basically what I believe, I kind of have a very more pessimistic approach to a more, I would say, classic climate change activist. I do, of course, agree with the scientific approach saying climate change is, of course, happening with the human production of greenhouse gases such as methane, CO2, and then, of course, other factors like deforestation. I mean, we did see an increase in temperature of 1.1 Celsius from around the 1800s, which is it does not seem as a big increase, like per se on your thermometer, but it does have catastrophic impacts on the world. Even if you're looking like from a biological perspective, from the ecosystems, and then later looking like, for example, at different organisms, or just seeing how climate change has been impacting us on a daily basis, such as creating more fires and thunderstorms, and just it's making it more unpredictable to predict the weather. Such as we even have on the Zuckerberg right now, we were supposed to have a rainy day yesterday. Suddenly we had a 30-degree day, which was also unexpected. Maybe 100 years ago, it would be more expected for us to know. So yeah, I'm rambling for a long time. I didn't I didn't have this in my head.
And our difference in solutions.
So our difference in solutions. Okay, I believe because in the system that we live in the world, capitalism. Do not get me wrong. I do not believe it's a bad system. I just believe it has flaws, and one of its flaws is, for example, going to be counteracting climate change. I believe that rich humans, and just maybe from middle class to upper class income people, haven't actually experienced climate change to a point where they actually want to do something about it. So my pessimistic approach is we're going to have more consequences, and until it actually reaches a higher amount of people that have more money and actually are willing to do something about it. My solutions to it is that it's probably going to take a long time. So I think right now, as what humans can do, and maybe people that care a lot about it, is maybe investing not in fixing climate change, but at least trying to figure out short-term solutions for it, such as geoengineering. I think that could be a really, really good start at the moment. Investing in more scientifical approach in efficiency, which was mentioned before, and I think nuclear power could be a big game changer in this situation as well.
I don't know how I follow that. That was pretty good. So for me, I think there there are people trying to make an impact on climate change now, and now's the time to act, because you might not be seeing things happening now, even though they are, but you have to act now to help the future. And I feel like not enough people are doing that. So I would say, like, some countries have introduced carbon taxes, such as Canada, and other countries, I know the UN or the EU is doing something to reduce the emissions. London has a policy where inside the city you can't drive gas cars. Right?
The problem with carbon taxes is, I believe, it's also a political approach, because some countries can, for example, benefit from carbon taxes, such as they could sell their products saying that they're well, first of all, you need money to produce a low carbon product. Okay, that's the first thing I would argue. And then I would say, for example, then other countries that don't have that money then have to buy their products, for example, from countries that can produce low carbon products, and then that benefits more those richer countries. So it's kind of a political thing, leaving poorer countries to just become more poorer. It doesn't become like this kind of thing that, oh, let's solve climate change because it's the right thing to do. It's kind of turning to this thing that, oh, how can we get the most money out of fixing climate change? And then it kind of, that misses the whole point. That's my opinion.
But I think you have to take initiative now before it becomes too late, and you can't do anything in that.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think we have, as a society without borders, I believe we haven't found the right solution yet. And I don't think carbon cutting is the right solution, because you can easily, you can easily just mismanage it, and it can turn into a totally different, I'm looking for the right word here. But it just misses the point of why we're fighting climate change. It can just be taken like someone can just like take advantage of climate change and just get more rich on it. That's my problem. It's how it's being tackled right now. I
agree with that.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, call now and get free shipping of your new CGM, plus we'll bill your insurance for you.
877-282-8102. That's 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102. Okay. Wow. Now, the one from Poland, remember, English is not his first language. 20 years old, incredibly complex thinking, studying to be a doctor. All of that is part of the extension of this show. We go abroad. We provide these courses, create radio stations, streaming radio and TV green screen studios for private schools, and help educate and teach people about propaganda and critical thinking. And many of them aspire and climb up the ladder and are able to think like that. You heard a 10-year-old, my God, breaking down what you'll never hear a pundit on CNN say, and certainly never on Fox News or anywhere else. That's incredible. And you guys get the credit. We're going to pause for a second. Coming up, my documentary on this 80-year anniversary of the atomic bomb drops on Japan. For many of you, it's going to be the first time you've heard the voices of the bombardiers, plus the creators of the bombs themselves. Now, these are the parts that were left out by the movie Oppenheimer. So we're going to take you deeply inside what really happened. And then I'm going to end this with an official civil defense film shown to movie theater audiences at the time that today seem like satire for the ridiculous promises. Parts that you're not going to hear are take a newspaper, throw it over yourself to protect you from the radiation. Not such a good idea. But here we are, literally at the brink. The doomsday clock, which many of you are familiar with, is now set to, It's beats away. So we're that close. It's a problem. And it's an existential problem, just like climate change, never talked about anymore. And it needs to be, especially on this anniversary where something so horrific happened. And we're going to take you inside in just a sec.
Listen, well, it's still legal.
The Cary Harrison Files. CaryHarrison.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.